December 1969, New York. A townhouse on the Upper East Side. A live figure in a satin bathrobe stands erect before a canvas splashed with psychedelic colour. He seems disappointed, disillusioned. This won't work anymore. It can't carry on like this. The door flies open. A young man runs in, his lab coat billowing haphazardly behind him, knocking over cans of soup and lesser masterpieces. "I have it!" he ejaculates. He spin-kicks the canvas from the easel and unsheathes the scroll in his hand. Both men look upon the work. With a trembling hand and tearful eye, the old artist struggles to comprehend the era-defining elegance that he now gazes upon. With equal parts pride and apprehension, the young man says, "I call it beige." Title card, the 1970s. The podcast that tries to find the one bloody pesticide that won't kill hard-working American bees as well. I'm Paul Song.
I'm quite literally covered in bees.
And it's a 5 episode, so it's time to plumb the depths and look into the past. Should we have a jingle? Should we write one? Find out now if we bother to write a jingle.
How did this one sound?
Yeah, fuck it. Having become thoroughly acquainted with Howard the Duck, we now look even further back to 1978, the year that gave us Halloween, Superman, Grease, The Deer Hunter, Midnight Express, Dawn of the Dead, Autumn Sonata, and The Swarm. Look out for the Swarm, Michael Caine, was the tagline.
Oh my god, bees, millions of bees! Air search 2-8 to base. Bees, millions of bees!
Bees?
Yes, they're all around me now, all over the canopy, trying to get in.
Well, get above them, man. Take it up.
I can't, sir. I am losing power.
The Swarm is a disaster movie about a killer bee invasion. No, seriously. It was directed by the master of disaster himself, Irwin Allen, who, having produced the excellent Towering Inferno and the Poseidon Adventure, decided to direct one for a change. He directed a lot of really good 60s sci-fi movies and TV shows, after all, so what could possibly... no!
Oh, the bees. It's the bees.
The bees! He forgot about the bees that would be involved in the production of his own film.
Never forget the bees. My dear old dad always used to tell me.
Critics seemed less than buzzed. Jennifer... Yeah. Oh, isn't it, though? Jennifer Selway...
Yeah, wings in a flap.
Jennifer Selway...
Do they sting the fuck out of some children at a picnic?
Critics...
I don't get puns.
Literally got all over Catherine Ross. And stung the shit out of her, including Jennifer Salway at the New York Times, who reports a number of journalists, rolling in the aisles with laughter, were ejected from the press screening. It's difficult to eject someone who's rolling at the time. Back here.
Ooh, it's like soap.
Oh, there goes Mark Kermode. Chuck O'Leary, writing for Fantastica Daily, says, why do killer bees sting everyone except leading players Michael Caine and Catherine Ross? They do sting Catherine Ross, Chuck. What's the fucking movie?
Fucking idiot.
What are you doing?
What movie are you watching? Get Carter. There's no bees in that.
You are dragging the fucking name of Fantastica Daily down into the dirt, Mr. O'Leary.
Was he watching Get Carter with one eye and The Graduate with the other? I was like, there are no bees in these.
He was watching The Graduate. Unfortunately, he himself had horrific segmented eyes in the style of a bee, and so everything just looked like it was from the bee's perspective, so he just assumed it was The Swarm that would be made many years later. As to the public, I'm not sure that The Swarm is getting its dues as a hilariously bad film. The people offering defenses on IMDb seem to be interpreting it as an average disaster movie, and not the bee-filled cheesecake it actually is. It's the people who are defending it are being like, come on guys, it's not that bad. Yes, it is. That's why it's amazing. Yeah. You're defending this wrong. One of these idiots is Gradoon at IMDb, saying, those who are calling it terrible or campy are really overdoing it. Watch it for yourself, and you'll discover that, while not an art film, it's an agreeable way to kill 2 hours.
2.5.
2.5, sir. 2 hours, 35 minutes.
Oh, unless he saw the director's cut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he may have. Maybe that's it. Nobody's seen the extended cut, and that's why nobody's really acknowledging that this is hilariously cheesy.
Yeah.
Cheesy bees. Claudio Carvalho, over IMDb, says this is one of the most absurd, long, boring, and flawed story with awful characters that I have ever seen. The annoying Dr. Crane, for example, is arrogant, does not show any education or respect for the others. I hate it when people don't show education for others. Takes very bad decisions, and hangs around with the gorgeous Captain Helena Anderson, not her rank, performed by Catherine Ross, instead of being in the base where he is in charge of the whole operation. He's not going to take any nonsense, this Claudio. You're meant to be coordinating this thing, not chatting some bird up. The film has 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, lost at least $5 million, but maybe as much as 15, and is commonly regarded as one of the worst films ever made. So, Paul, you beleaguered podcaster.
Bees!
What's one thing about The Swarm that made you want to not find the word bees inherently amusing forever?
Well, other than bees, it was really nice to see Ed Harris in an early role as main army general.
Was he?
No.
Genuinely Oh, okay.
The main general just looked an awful lot like Ed Harris. A very sad Ed Harris.
You mean the young
No,
major who was...
No, I mean the old guy who looks like Ed Harris today.
Oh, okay. It looks like Ed Harris right now. Excellent.
He was an interesting and calming presence, I think.
I think so.
As counterpoint to Michael Caine! Be expert!
Sir, I don't approve of the way you're doing things. I don't need you to approve the way I'm doing things!
Approve the way I do this! And then he just pushes in.
Gently.
Softly.
Sir, you best not do that again. I won't! So...
Thanks for your feedback!
I appreciate that sometimes come on a bit strong. No, I'm sorry about that, General. You gotta understand, I'm looking out for the bees!
Are we friends yet?
Does any of this count as bonding? I don't quite know how character development works. Anyway, what happens in this Swarm a Bee movie?
It starts with army men in hazmat suits.
Yes.
Creeping their way through a facility. Eerily quiet. And they look at each other, and then they don't look at each other. And then they look at each other, and they don't look at each other. And eventually, after about 15 minutes of silence, they come into a room.
Oh, yeah.
Full of dead people.
Oh, shit.
How are they dead? How did they die? Suicide?
It's worth saying so.
Not suicide?
They all seemed equipped with... It looked like flamethrowers, even at this early stage, so I was kind of like, oh god, maybe it's the bee situation in progress. But then the guy in front had a revolver. It's like, don't worry about the bees, everyone. Barry's brought his fucking shooter.
Shit, I should have bought more than a 6-shooter.
He fires a gun and a bee sort of falls out of the air like that terrible Birdemic animation. Says the bee.
They find all the people dead.
Yep.
And then they find Michael Caine not dead.
Yes, because nobody knows how to creep into a fucking complex like Michael Caine.
Apparently, yeah. Michael Caine, who's just in sort of like a turtleneck. I think I don't think he was in a turtleneck, but that's just how my mind has chosen to frame that forever. I
think he was in a turtleneck, and he's there with his brown hair that matches his cardigan, his trousers, his briefcase, his van, and his demeanor.
Yeah, his general outlook. What are you doing here, son?
How the fuck did you get in here? Well, it's a complicated story. Starts well over a year ago. Wait, you spent a year getting into this facility. I chipped my way in. Don't worry about that.
Gnawed my way in with my front teeth.
I'm very much like a rat. Anyway, that is not important. What matters is the bees. It's at this stage that he reports that the real threat, the thing that's killed all these young brave soldiers, is killer African bees.
Killer African bees.
Look, what I do for a living is not important. What is important, critical, is that there are probably other invading swarms. And what these bees did here, they can do again all over the southwest and ultimately all over the country.
Basically, they don't believe him.
No.
For a while. They don't believe him for a while.
For 30 seconds.
Check it with Connors. Connors, the advisor to the president, they say? Yes, that one. Thanks for pointing that one out. Him. The story corroborates he's not just some crazy English guy sneaking into a military base, as they're wont to do. He's an actual scientist.
An actual scientist named Bradford Crane. I couldn't even get it out. Bradford Crane. 2 helicopters get taken out by wasps. Wasps? No, bees. Bees, that's it. Bees. That's right. Sorry, I forgot.
Oh yeah, bees. How could I forget? There's a bit more like umming and ahhing back and forth between him and Ed Harris, who doesn't trust him with for no reason really.
Well, no, for a very good reason, which is that fucking Ed Harris has read a report that says that the African bee is at least 10 years away. It's like, when did you read that? Look, I happen to be very interested in entomology. And I also have to assess every threat to these United States, including the most fucking ridiculous ones. I've got 5 people watching New Zealand just in case they decide to invade Alaska. That sounds like a tremendous waste of resources. It is, but I believe it.
It is. We got a lot of resources. But I just got this image of him sat at his desk, his mahogany desk, in the study, like in the den, the night before, just plowing through reports and like, bees, fucks.
It's just...
Actually, this is really interesting. I'm going to remember this for later use.
I'm going to remember this little stat. And he's like, yeah, the bees are at least 10 years away. Is that by your schedule? Or the bees? Which is a fabulously dumb thing to say. They can't be here. They're at least 10 years away of being here. Did anyone tell the bees that?
Eventually, everybody comes around to Michael Caine's mental idea that he's been working on literally his entire life, that the bees are going to start a war with the humans. The order from the president that he now has full jurisdiction over the bee attacks.
Literally unlimited jurisdiction.
And the first thing he does is anything. Women, guns.
What did he say to him? Like, what are the limits of my authority? None. Thank you. And he just turns around and shoots everyone. Oh, well, I don't like it, but you know what he said. President, you need to phrase these things more carefully. When you say unlimited power, unlimited power!
I was gonna say, it's Ian McDiarmid.
That's the President of the United States fighting off the bees. Oh, I'm afraid the fly swatter will be quite operational by the time your bees arrive.
Well, that sounds lovely. I've got a lot of bees to bugger about a bit.
I hope you got the spare batteries.
It's either Ian McDiarmid or it's just Michael Caine in a moustache.
I'm the President of the United States, and I say you give this man whatever he needs.
It's just his thumb pointing at his own face. Yeah, so he's got unlimited power to do whatever the fuck he wants with bees. And
that's what somebody said about Irwin Allen during the making of this.
Oh, God. It's a just really important lesson for everybody else, guys. Never give a man the power of bees.
Meanwhile, a family is sitting down to have a lovely picnic consisting of KFC, which is apparently a thing that happens in Texas. God help us all. And then they're having a very lovely chat. Robot Dad is hungry, which is very important to note.
I guess enough. You're going to wreck the food. I am hungry.
I am hungry. Please insert KFC.
I'm going to go now.
This isn't a suitable picnic food. Do not argue, wife unit. But then they're having a nice chat when the kid is suddenly like, oh, look at that. And they look over and there's bees!
Hey, wait for Paul.
I can't. I'm starving.
Yeah. No, bees.
Millions
Bees,
of
they
bees.
say. Oh my God, there's bees. And this is the first of many slow motion death scenes with bees.
Yes.
Of people in... I don't doubt the dismay and distress that they're going through with the bees.
With the bees.
But it's in slow motion and they're covered in bees. And they're shouting bees. So...
Haunting.
He, the kid, Paul, his name is. You should know that.
Well, it's time we get to know some villagers, Paul.
Oh, do we mention that Paul himself escapes in a car?
Yeah, he does. Driving like a fucking Ryan Gosling type.
Like a fucking Paul would. We don't let you behind the car anymore. Behind the car? Yeah. Don't let him behind the car.
Look,
put stuff in there.
He doesn't know whether I'm behind, beneath, or inside the car.
Dr. Connors hasn't the foggiest idea whether I'm on, off, on top of, or under this complex.
And that's to our advantage.
So yes, it's time to meet the mayor of the town, and the head schoolmistress, and a fucking engineer who also fancies the head schoolmistress. There's a love triangle. Who's going to win her heart? Clarence the engineer, or Irvin? I don't know his name. The mayor. Mr. Mayor.
The mayorman.
Jonathan McMayor.
Yeah, can't wait to find that out.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a brilliant reveal. I'm going to feel very happy. I'm a little bit Team Clarence, to be honest.
Oh, yeah? I'm Team Maureen.
Team the other guy.
Nah. Fully just the woman. Go it alone.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's married to the school as she politely tries to fob this guy off. Whichever one it is. Clarence?
I'm married to my not being with you.
I'm already married.
To Ned Nedson. You know? Yeah, Ned. Married to him.
Ned Nedson.
Look at my ring.
Damn it, Ned!
You just threw your hand really quickly around the place. Yeah, it's great. There, ring. Look, see?
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I'm already married.
Well, she knew the song.
It's too late.
Damn.
Too late. You should have come 5 minutes earlier. Then we'd have been married.
Oh, you should have locked that shit down when we were kids. Anyway, Paul drives into town like a fucking nutter. He's been stung a couple of times, and his parents have been stung more than that. An excessive amount.
Stung to death.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Michael Caine has been asked to assemble a team. So he calls Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and Henry Fonda.
Not all of them necessarily want to be there.
Nope.
Henry Fonda's fairly happy to be there, except that he has to be lifted there by Michael Caine. There's a guy who...
Richard Chamberlain?
The guy with the beard and glasses.
Yeah, that's Richard Chamberlain, who...
Hubbard.
Is strangely beautiful, I found. Like, there's something about his eyes.
Yeah, not his beard, though.
No, we need...
Accept that
was
beard.
Gone. I feel like he'd be a lovely David Bowie-style androgynous kind of fella. But, with the beard.
He looks like a nightmare mannequin.
That's what I look for in a man.
The one that keeps following me.
The one that's behind you right now. So yeah, Caine goes to visit the fucking kid. They show up.
Yeah.
And they say, excuse me, we're here to see Paul Walker. I don't know, whatever his name is. Paul Walker's room. Paul Paulin. Oh yes, he's just upstairs on the right. Oh, thank you very much. They go up there, and the kid is still fucking screaming like he was when he was at the picnic. Just harsh cut to him still being traumatized. And what's even better is that he's imagining a giant bee.
Yeah.
And it's in a baffling Irwin Allen move. They cut away from the giant bee to them at his bedside. And then the giant bee fades in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the funniest thing.
Is it a real bee?
Why does it fade in?
Who's to say at this stage?
Oh, fuck. It's so funny.
But thinking about it, would you prefer it to fade in, or would you prefer it to cut to the wider room and the bee just be there?
He seems really upset by Dr. B. What could this mean?
Never mind, Mr. Caine. I always get this.
I do not need to accept this discrimination based on my race. Goodbye, Mr. Caine. And he just flies out the window. Paul's fine. Caine goes to leave, and the chick, Julie Agatha, what's her fucking name?
Catherine
Ross, yes, thank you. Playing Christy, who knows? Jenny?
Helena,
yeah. Dr. Anderson. Anyway, he goes to leave, and Captain Scarlet comes up to him and says, thank you very much for helping me out with this traumatized boy. And Michael Caine shoots her the filthiest fucking look that he's been able to muster. Just
yeah. I'll help you out with the boy. No problem. What does that even mean, Michael Caine? I thought that was a sexy innuendo. I was wrong.
I apologise to you and your mum.
Unreservedly. And then he walks in that weird stiff way that he's got. He can't walk in this film, by the way.
He's got the fucking guy from Birdemic Syndrome.
Yeah. He brought in James Wen to direct that specific part.
I did motion capture for Michael Caine in The Swarm. Michael Caine goes back to the base, sits, and listens to the recording of the attack. And turns out they're attacked by bees.
This is my favourite bit of the film. Because the army general was like, well, you can listen to it again if you want, but we don't find anything. We didn't hear anything. And then he's listening to it with that, like, looking into the distance with a studious look on his face. And suddenly there's an obvious buzzing sound of a million bees. and somebody goes, what's that? Sounds like a million chainsaws. Ah! Bees! Fuck!
Not the bees stinging me! They were attracted here by the noise! Ah! Ow! Ow! Wait a minute. Play that back. Amplify. Play it in slow motion. Oh, bees!
So with all of his scientific learning and his life's work, he's finally able to deduce that it's bees. And he tells the general to tell his scientist friends that the war that he'd always feared was going to happen is finally here.
Yes, apparently we've been fighting a losing war against the insects, but only for the last 15 years. What happened 15 years ago? Did Archduke Ferdinand get taken out by Serbian nationalists?
1963.
Oh, it was Kennedy.
My dad was born in 1963.
Kennedy was killed. He was the last pro-insect.
Probably my dad.
advocate. Yeah, probably your dad. Yeah. I remember the first time I met your dad at the graduation at Greenwich. Here's my dad, Dr. Insect.
Last time you'll take a pot of open honey to a public place.
I'm proud of you, son. I don't know where this happens, so I want to talk about it now, but Michael Caine goes to visit the picnic scene. They find little bits of plastic on the floor. And he's like, I think this used to be the remains of a plastic cup.
Yeah.
Surely you can't be serious. I think the bees did this.
It's a piece of a plastic cup. There are pieces all around here. Look, there.
What's so significant about that?
I'm afraid to speculate. I think the bees did this. But it looks like this species is tearing up plastic cups. Suppose these bees are using plastic to insulate their hives.
No bee is that smart.
Suppose these bees are.
Does their ability to eat through plastic come up again later? Yeah.
It's weird in such a tight film. So,
okay, so the next thing that happens is that we're at the school. We're at the school, and the fucking Clarence has come to visit the headmistress in the hope of taking advantage of the fact that the odds have apparently shifted in his favour, according to a poll taken by his mate. Apparently 51% are now in favour of a hard you having sex with with the fucking headmistress. Although you're pretty weak in voters aged 21 to 30. I want to work on that.
yeah.
He shows up in order to tell her, now look, I know I'm just an engineer. Most of my education's in my hands. Look, I'm in a real hurry. Could you come back and tell me how dumb you are later? Just you can finish telling me later how utterly stupid you actually are.
But I am glad that we're spending so much of our podcasting time on this episode because it is a really vital part of the story. Paul is recovered and he decides to sneak out of hospital and go and just fucking attack the bees, basically.
Yeah, they're going to sort shit out.
And it goes really well. The bees only kill 30, 200 people?
Yeah. Something like that.
Children die.
Yep, lots of kids.
And Maureen's devastated, isn't she? Oh, by the way, we didn't mention, but bees, you're a two-man now, so sort it out.
How are bees a two-man?
They're in the Avengers.
Oh yeah, that's right.
As an aggressive force, so...
It's a shame that we covered the Wicker Man in a different podcast.
Damn, would have been the bees. No, not the bees. You see, it's never good, is it? Never fucking good.
It worked. Oh god, it's weird because bees are a genuinely upsetting thing. I hate bees. I hate it when they're in the house. They're frightening. I don't like them. And wasps. But there's something so comical about them.
There's just we were saying this earlier, but and I know we've got to get on with the plot. But you can't have an attacking thing and then just keep saying the name of it, even if it's not bees, snakes, tigers. Even if
Dinosaurs.
it was tigers. Yeah, or dragons. You'd be like, dragons! No! Anyway, the bees kill a lot of people. They sting Helena.
Oh no! She looks into the eyes of Michael Caine and sees a bee!
In his fucking eye. They're locked in a cold storage room, and the next scene, they're not.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing how they got out of that.
No, fuck it, you know. But, yes, so she's in hospital, getting seen to. Getting a right good scene to.
Yes.
By...
from Michael Caine
by
himself.
Dr. B.
I insist!
You're alright! So, yeah, he goes out in order to argue with the general, and Paul goes up to the wounded Anderson in order to say, it was me, I did it, I threw firebombs at the bees. Oh, Paul, you know you've got to tell Michael Caine, don't you? He's gonna fucking kill you, Paul. Was that Michael Caine descending on him?
I was trying to do like a horror sting, but it's the same, yeah. That's just his noise.
You stretched your arms out at the same time, though, like...
Like Nosferatu.
Caine attack.
Klaus Kinski's Nosferatu.
That's Michael Caine all over.
AKA.
Nosferatu Caine.
Nice.
But where for Arcane? Apparently they've managed to capture a whole bunch of bees, which is great. They can test on them.
Yep.
But the general wants to fucking just poison everything. But that's a problem, because it'll kill a lot of American bees.
Hard-working American bees.
Oh, God. There's subtext here I never noticed. You can't judge all of them by a few bad examples. A few million bad examples. He goes out and speaks... Paul comes out and speaks to him and says, it was me. I bombed the bees. I bombed the bees. Bees bombed the bees. And Caine says, it's all right, son. When I was a boy, I'll set a fire. kill my mum and dad. I didn't do it on purpose, though. Now you gotta be with your mum. She's not my mum. Give her a chance!
Yeah, I really like that bit. When I was a little younger than you, I accidentally gave my dog a biscuit. On second thoughts, what you did was a lot worse.
You're fucking horrible, you are. They have a bees behind a very unsatisfactory decontamination chamber, which basically consists of just giving a quick once-over to see if you've got any bees on you.
Yes. What they do is they collect the venom. The venom?
Yeah.
They collect the venom from 1 million bees.
This vial contains the venom of 1 million bees.
Yes, and the plan is to get L. Ron Hubbard to make some poisonous pellets to drop on the bees, whilst Dr. Henry Fonda, who's an immunologist, is going to make a vaccination for the bee flu.
Yes, absolutely. Meanwhile, the town is being evacuated because of all the bees.
Yes.
And
what's happening with Maureen, Paul?
Well, fucking Clarence comes up and says, "Look, I know I may be completely idiotic. Look, can we just not discuss this, like, who I'm going to marry, considering, you know, those hundreds of kids? Well, I'm still going to be a dick to you and the other guy."
Yeah.
All right.
A and B. I may not have all of my fingers, and I'm maybe a lowly engineer, and
I may have killed a couple guys.
I may be a bee. I don't know. But I'd sure like to have sex with you, you old woman.
Olivia de Havilland. Anyway, they get on the train and it crashes and they die.
Yep.
They all die.
Yes. Yeah? There's a bee in here. A bee? Don't take any chances. Maybe he wants the apple. Oh, man, give it to him. Hey! Goddamn, what'll I do now? Don't move. Don't get him mad. No, Charlie!
17 survive, we're told on a screen. Olivia de Havilland? No. Probably not. We don't know.
We don't know.
Never find out.
Never comes up, not even in the extended cut. You
No.
need the extra extended cut to find out if any of those 3 important characters lived.
The train is overpowered by bees. It falls off a cliff and explodes, and it cuts immediately to like an old Amstrad screen.
It cuts to Wilfred Brimley's computer out of the Thing, and it tells him that 17 people lived out of however many were on the Thing. So they drop the powder onto the bees, and Caine gets out the best binoculars in the fucking world, because from a helicopter he sees an individual bee choose not to eat the pellet, and that tells him that the Thing isn't working. Paul dies.
Yeah, Paul just fucking dies, and then Henry Fonda
dies.
He injects the venom into him to see if his vaccine works, and it works for 5 seconds, and then it doesn't work, and then he dies.
Yeah, he injects it into himself in the most fucking difficult of circumstances. It's like, I wonder...
Yeah.
Tell you what, I will test it by administering a syringe to myself only 60 seconds after I've injecting it to replicate the fumblings of an uneducated man. That way I'll figure out if the vaccine works and how cool I am. Also, I'm going to be blindfolded and I'm going to shoot myself first.
And it is 60 seconds and change, isn't it? It's very much like, okay, that's 60 seconds.
Oh, missed it.
And I'm still fumbling. I'm going to do it for sure. I'm a scientist.
I hope this works.
Yeah. Well, then he dies, and Helena is distraught. You can see it all over her face as she tries to bring him back to life. And Michael Caine actually does cry. He actually comes in and shows some emotion.
He does.
Which is special, which is how you know that it's a film. And
yeah.
After that...
a nuclear bomb goes off and kills 36,000 people.
Yeah. Which happened at the best time, because it was the exact moment that I was lamenting that the mention of bees killing people was starting to lose its sheen. And then the reactor just fucking takes out a city, and it's amazing. But it's done in the same way. It's done in the exact same way as the train.
Yes.
This reactor explodes, and then it cuts straight to the fucking Mac.
Saying that 36,000 people are dead.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Without precedent, Michael Caine is stripped of his powers as Bee King. And I'm going to walk all the way to Austin, Texas. And then he does. And it takes him about 3 years because he can't walk.
Yeah. And he gets there with the chick, with fucking, not Olivia de Havilland. What's her name? Jessica.
Catherine Ross.
Catherine Ross. And he gets there with her. At which point she says, "But what can you do to help? You might have mentioned that at the beginning of the fucking journey. I just drove for 10 hours. Well, you know, it's just...
You didn't bloody speak to me.
I stopped 5 times on the way here.
You didn't say a bloody word all fucking journey. I asked you how you were. I asked you how your mum was.
He gets there. He meets up. He meets up with the general, and he says, "We're gonna kill him with fire." Oh, wish I thought of that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so they set light to Austin and it doesn't work, weirdly. And they're all underground now in a secret bunker, just basically accepting that the bees have won the 15-year war.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine realises that it's sounds. It's drawing them to the thing. Drawing them to the sound.
Yeah.
The sound pool. Have I said that right?
Sounds like a queen bee sending out a amazing call to a lesser queen bee. Please stop shouting at me, Michael Caine. I just want to understand what you're saying. I'm not against you anymore. And the other queen bee issues its sand. That's going to make it attack everyone. Okay. What is the suggestion at the heart here? I wish Richard Chamberlain or Henry Fonda were alive to translate you. They had a calming presence on you, I feel.
Yeah.
Never mind about that.
Aren't you tired yet?
This has been like a day, hasn't it?
Aren't you tuckered out, Michael?
We haven't seen anyone sleep.
No, I could go on and 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 on.
I'm quite tired, actually, now you come to mention it. But let's kill the bees first.
Yeah, I'm going to have a nap.
So,
all right, well, while he has a nap, let's just extrapolate from that his plan was to move a sonic sound box to the ocean and lure the bees all the way there.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work for Godzilla 98, but it does work for millions of bees. So they shoot rockets at it hilariously, and it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, who would you rather fight? One Godzilla-sized bee?
Or a million
bee-sized
Godzillas. I mean, I live on like a walk up, so not too worried. Yeah, fuck off. I just pour kettles down the stairs. They fucking hate that.
50,000 men. No, not men, but like men, tradies. All just standing at the edge of the Godzillas going, it's going to cost you.
They just flick each one off as they get up there. Can't you do something more permanent than this? Ooh. Well, the problem is, if Victorian job, no. Like you got here, no. If it's Georgian, or sort of late Renaissance period, might be able to do something, but you're looking at your classic 1890s architecture here. Oh,
Renaissance is fine. Renaissance is fine. Then Victorian period, it went wrong, and then Georgian, when they went, Renaissance is probably a better idea, actually. Let's do that.
They rethought it.
But anyway, they burn the bees, and they say, is this the end? Are we safe? I don't know. And then it ends. Good.
Yeah, great.
Good stuff.
Oh, Jesus, Paul, that was fucking The Swarm, 1978.
And that took so fucking long to get through.
There's an awful lot of plot squeezed into that 2.5 hours.
They got it in there somehow, didn't they? I've just been looking at this Audacity timer and sweating.
Oh, I'm not looking at that. Never again.
It's, film. I mean, 2.5 hours, Paul. 2.5 fucking hours for that film.
It was an intimidating length, and then I think I spent the first 20 minutes crying with laughter. Just so fucking happy. The happiest maybe I've ever been. And then gradually over the next 2 hours after that, 2 hours and 20 minutes after that, the length of a fucking film, of Inception, I think is about that length. It does... there's no one moment. I can't point to a moment in this film and say, this is where I lost interest. I really can't. It's because when I break it down, everything we just discussed is hilarious. Every moment of it. The conference, the fucking scenes of Michael Caine just shouting at the general. We should split this up just briefly between the things... There are three things, really, that sort of define this movie. One is Michael Caine just shouting at people.
Yes.
It's never not great.
Now you kick on your visual comm system and patch through to Dr. Connors in the White House. The African bees.
Call you back.
The African bees that killed Paul's mother and father are back. You want action, and so do I. Well, we'll do it my way. Now give it a chance. Don't you understand? The killer bees are coming. Get inside immediately.
Two is people talking very earnestly about bees.
Bees. Yes.
Bees. Just utterly straight-faced bees.
Now, what happened here, Captain?
I'm sorry, sir. You mean you don't know?
Well, not exactly.
We were attacked by bees.
Trying to tell me bees killed the men here?
Our men above ground were literally covered with bees.
I can't believe he just happened to be here at the exact moment a swarm of bees hit this complex. If you tell us what you're looking for, we'll try to help.
I'm looking for bees, General. And I never dreamed that it would turn out to be the bees. They've always been our friends. You are now looking at the final test that I made this morning from the one dead bee that we found.
This isn't just a story about a family killed by bees. Something else is going on around here. I can feel it.
I appreciate that, Doctor, but let me ask you. In all your fail-safe techniques, is there any provision against an attack by killer bees?
When you talk about the bees, it sounds almost as if you admire them.
I do.
And then the third thing is not necessarily so bad it's good. Well, no, it's the somewhat ineloquent, but sometimes actually really good way it handles the bee attacks, which is sometimes utterly ridiculous and other times quite disturbing. Like with the kids running in slow motion.
Yeah, the slow motion sometimes works and sometimes didn't. The bee swarm, I think, looked pretty good, actually. Yeah. I feel like all the effects budget went into making the bees look good. And
I mean, a lot of it was bees. They actually got quite a lot of bees and took the stingers out.
Oh, okay.
And just threw them at the actors. Alfred Hitchcock.
Well, that's a good way of doing bees.
Pay attention, Zack Snyder.
And it's a gruesome idea, is the thing. Being murdered by millions of bees would be an awful way to go. And imagine if one of our various countries was overtaken by bees. It's probably more likely going to be Australia, let's be honest. But if they suddenly swept through and started murdering... I mean, the 32,000 people who died was because they blew up a fucking nuclear reactor. But
they still got
anyway,
several hundred.
They still got a few hundred kills under their belts, a few hundred notches on their tomahawk before that.
Yeah.
And it's a genuinely horrific way to go because there's nothing... You can't outrun or fight bees.
No.
But then, if that was a line in the film, you can't outrun bees. It's inherently the fucking best.
It's
thing
hilarious.
That you'll ever hear in your life.
That's the thing, is it spends its time split between hilariously so bad it's good and genuinely quite effective. And I can't point at any one moment and say this is where it gets boring, because there aren't any, but it does get boring. Over 2.5 hours.
There's two things. There's only so many times that saying the word bees in an earnest way and watching people die in slow motion to bees is going to get the same gut laugh. It's always amusing. It's definitely always amusing, and I was always smiling. But then when you intercut that with all of the subplots, which literally went nowhere, there was no point to having them except to maybe make you feel something for some other people, but you didn't need that.
No, and it's just so inelegant. Like, you can make us care for people really quickly, really, because, basic human responses, you see someone in pain, you want them to be okay. Like, there's a pregnant chick. We didn't mention her in our plot synopsis, but she has about 5 scenes, this pregnant woman who shows up, is pregnant, gets seen by a doctor, doesn't manage to get on the evacuation train, thereby saving her life, is seen by the doctor again, gives birth, and is given the blessing by the doctor, and it's nothing. She's never seen again after that. Yeah. She doesn't even die.
That's it, yeah.
And it's like,
all there is.
Why did you do this? You didn't even do like a tense moment where like the bees are getting closer and she's
giving birth.
Yeah.
Maybe she's trying to give birth and the bees are trying to get in and they're like push, and the bees are pushing. They could have done that. Let's have that.
The bees
have
come
that
out
for
of
free.
her vagina. Ah.
Oh no, is what we feared. But
15 years it's been happening.
There are a couple of things here. A, why not spend half of that time further fleshing out the main characters so we could have cared more when they died? And B, if you want to do that, I can't remember his full name. It's Olgfist, the guy who wrote the novel Let the Right One In.
Oh yeah.
Whenever he killed somebody off, he'd just introduce them for a page. Right. And you get a page about their life. And he's like, this guy's really looking forward to going home and saying goodnight to his kids. Oh, a vampire's come in and broke his brain. It's all the more horrible. You just got a tiny, intimate slice of their life. Yeah. And then something really gruesome happens to them. But with this, it was just this long, played out drama about this love triangle. The pregnant woman. Even Paul, what the fuck does it matter, really?
Yeah.
He died in the end.
He did, which is not to say that characters who die don't deserve, like, a character arc, but that they die, it doesn't affect the fact that they die, and the character exposition is so clumsy and drawn out.
Yes.
So there was a theatrical cut of this, which was 116 minutes long, a full half an hour shorter. I have a little breakdown of some of the scenes that were shorter, some of the differences, which I think might be interesting to go through. I'm going to leave out stuff like they walked down the hall for another 10 minutes, or, there was an extra dialogue scene here.
Although there were some really amazing lingering shots that were clearly should have just been cut.
Here are the differences. Okay. Caine offering the general the sunflower seeds.
Okay.
And the callback to it later, and the entire plastic scene. The cups, Paul!
And the sunflower seeds.
What happened to this cup?
High in potassium, low in sodium. Brilliant.
And I'll tell you what I told you earlier. Terrific.
Bees deal badly with potassium? No? Oh.
Pay attention, folks. I might be setting up the solution at the end of the film. Well, pay attention to moments like that. Don't worry, I will point out when other things happen. Just so happens, this one is a red herring. Don't worry about that. We've thrown it in, try and confuse you. Because the director thinks you're a bit of a twat. I'm not having it.
This is what you call a character quirk.
I don't like it. Tried to get it cut. Paul. The line...
Paul.
Our men were literally covered in bees was not in the theatrical cut.
Why?
That explains...
I have a pretty good idea why.
That explains the fucking poor critical reaction, I feel.
Yes.
Because how could one?
I mean, that was in the first 5 minutes of the film, right? Or the first 10 at least.
Yeah, early on.
That was the first thing that really got me on board to this film.
Most egregiously, my favourite scene of the movie was cut, which is Michael Caine shouting bee-related tidbits at the general.
Then just possibly I can persuade you to attack this particular swarm, now that we know where it is. Attack and eliminate it.
Possibly. If you can explain to me how you airdrop chemicals without killing the native insect life. If your chemical would kill the African bee, it would also kill the American bee, right?
Right. And better a few American bees than a lot of American people.
That is the point, General. The honeybee is vital to the environment. Every year in America, they pollinate $6 billion worth of crops. If you kill the bee, you're going to kill the crop. If you kill the plant, you'll kill the people. No! No, General! There will be no airdrop until we know exactly what we are dropping, and where, and how. Excuse me.
Not having it.
You'd hope that when you get a director's cut, it's going to have some sort of guidance, there's going to be a real mission there.
Yeah, it's...
Literally covered in bees?
That's a tragedy.
Oh, I deleted it by accident.
I dragged it onto the wrong timeline.
Oh. Yeah, for an undo button, eh?
Not until the 2000s. Thanks, Steve Jobs. The nothing of a TV interview is new to the extended edition. The sort of, sir, what can you tell us about the bees attacking? Well, probably all going to die. Oh, that's pretty grim.
Yeah.
Is the government doing anything? I can't reveal that information. Alarming news there from Michael Caine. Paul, the fucking pregnancy subplot was just for us. Just for us extended boys.
Oh.
But here's my favourite one. The love triangle is still in there, but not them being on the train. The scene of them getting on the train isn't there, and them being on the train playing cards isn't there. So you just have the train crash, and you might get a glimpse of Clarence going out the fucking window, but otherwise, you'd have no idea. The characters would just disappear halfway through.
This doesn't make any sense. Why would you then have any of it? Why would you do that? If you could choose how people saw your film, why would you do that to it?
What are you fucking doing?
This is no longer a film. Do you want a sunflower seed?
Irvy, you've lost it. He gives nicknames to everyone he works with. He called Henry Fonda Hank Fonda in a thing. That's not a short Henry. Michael, it's working with Hank Fonda. Fucking hell.
Yes.
Paul dying is only in the extended cut. Which is really grim for anyone who enjoyed the sort of laughably bad theatrical cut and bought the DVD to show people. Oh, you're going to love this kid. He's great. Oh, he makes firebombs and drives a car and... Oh. This is longer than I remember.
So why... I mean, what was the cut? What was the cut for? Was it for the cinema?
To make more room in the theatrical cut for wandering around talking about bees.
Doesn't make any sense why they do that to the film.
Oh my god, speaking of character deaths, Henry Fonda appears to, I haven't actually watched it, but based on what I read, it seems like he just dies on his own, because the scene where she comes in to help him and Michael Caine comes in to mourn him isn't there. So it seems like he's just, well, I'll do the experiment on my own. Dies. And then nobody mentions him again. Oh god, the scene where fucking the graduate chick, Catherine Ross, gets sick.
Yeah.
Again, later on in the plot, doesn't happen, but what the fuck was the point in that anyway? The fact that Sting victims relapse, what was the point in that? Apart from to kill
I don't
Paul?
know. I imagine they took it out of the theatrical version because they don't show her getting better.
No, the last one is my favourite. The scene of the graduate asking Michael Caine whether or not this has worked, and him saying, I
Yeah.
don't know, is cut.
Oh.
So literally, he gets off the helicopter, says, fire! They fire the missiles at the bees. The end.
It ends like a Chinese martial arts movie from the 70s.
Yes, the bad guy's dead. The end. Fuck everyone. No refunds.
What on earth is... I mean, was there an original cut? Was there a 3-hour version that had
the elements actually pay off?
Yeah, that was actually a movie. Was there a movie of this?
This is Irvin Allen's. What was the fucking phrase right at the beginning? His that's it. An Irvin Allen production of The Swarm. Makes it sound like fucking King Lear. I prefer Kenneth Branagh's The Swarm personally. Oh god.
He cast all the bees as black men. It's very progressive.
Very progressive,
Yeah.
and he found nuance in the character of Bee.
And also, did he find a better way of referring to the African killer bees than Africans?
Yes, that was unsettling.
Yeah.
People apparently feel a bit uneasy calling them bees because of how funny it is. So they multiple times refer to the killer bees as the Africans.
Your Dr. Hubbard was out collecting live Africans. I track down and destroy every African swarm in this country. By tomorrow, there'll be no more Africans, at least not in the Houston sector.
Oh my god.
We need a final solution for the Africans.
Jesus.
You can't say that, Michael Caine.
I fought for this country, not in any war.
I was in Zulu.
Paid a posh bloke. I can actually play posh. Don't get asked to do it very often. Thing is, Paul, I love this. That's the problem. It's because of all that we've discussed.
Yeah.
Because of all the fucking nonsense we've discussed. Yeah. This is a James Gwen style masterpiece to me.
Yeah.
Gwen, whatever.
It's so inept. It's Russell Mulcahy Highlander 2
really?
style for me.
Yeah.
Because Birdemic came with a real sense of frustration, and I think I had a sour taste in my mouth. But with this and with Highlander, it was just pure honey.
It was.
Didn't even do that on purpose.
Yeah, look at you. Is that because...
Oh, kill me.
Is it because Michael Caine and the director had the good grace to completely fucking abandon it for us to enjoy? So they're not going to say, actually, M. Night Shyamalan style, I think it's a masterpiece. We've always said stand by your shit, but is this actually a case where it works better if it's so bad it's good, if the directors just disown it completely? Otherwise you get the Tommy Wiseau syndrome.
Okay, so that... Yeah, maybe actually, yeah, because then it's... Maybe you feel less guilty that there's not somebody, like...
Who really believes in it.
Free falling with it.
Yeah.
So did they really just fucking pull the ripcord on this? I don't actually know the background. Okay.
Well, Caine has this thing that he often does. I actually saw Sir Michael Caine, Tory MP, speak a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
At an event held by Mark Kermode. And he talked once again about Jaws: The Revenge, and talked about how he did it because he was trying to buy his mum a house. He says he hasn't seen the film, but I have seen the house that I bought my mum, and it's lovely. And I think he says that about almost any film he chooses to disown, it seems.
Okay.
So I guess it's admirable for him to be so transparent. It's not like Johnny Depp pretending there's merit in The Tourist.
I mean, it is a job, and sometimes you do a shitty job.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he didn't. It's the thing. He did a great job here. If he wasn't cast in this...
as long as he's not expected to walk anywhere.
I'm not resentful that he got a house out of this. Yes, so it's just he does really great work here. He's really entertaining.
Yeah.
And I think Owen Allen is problematic when it's not when they set out to do. Because they definitely didn't set out to make a comedy. But they've definitely made a comedy.
No, made a comedy, yeah. Full of laughs. It's a laughathon. It is one of the purest, so bad it's good films that I've ever seen in my entire life. And as far as recommending it to people, yes.
Yes, and I think, unfortunately, for all of you boys and girls at home, it's got to be the extended cut. Boring in places.
Oh, for
and
sure.
The theatrical cut and still not make any sense.
Mm-hmm. I
feel like maybe there's a fan edit waiting to happen here that does just excise the love triangle. Although, is that part of the fun? The ineptitude?
I mean, it is ineptitude, but it didn't make me feel good in the same way that the bees made me feel
It's like
good.
one of Stuart Lee's more tiresome jokes.
That's it. It's in the fourth series where you're not sure that there is a point to some of them.
It just feels like a very long, boring parody at times.
Yeah.
But fuck me, you can't just watch a YouTube highlight reel. It's not going to get across the sheer joy of how seriously this movie takes Michael Caine shouting about bees.
You got to experience it. Just look, add to the paycheck, guys. add to the royalties that Michael Caine is going to get.
All right, let's begin the lengthy process of quick-firing the things we enjoyed about this ridiculous fucking film. Quick-fire.
The first 5 minutes, I actually quite enjoyed the silence, the pacing.
Yeah, man.
All it led up to them, it was quite tense. They were looking at each other like, where do we go from here? And then it ends with them opening up into the command center, and there are just dead people all over the floor. And that was a really good reveal, I thought.
Yeah, and Jerry Goldsmith's score is doing its sort of Alien business, because he's 1 year away from scoring Alien.
Okay. Guys, listen to this.
It's a bit weird, right?
Yeah?
Now look, don't be bringing that noisy shit in my gaff, alright? Save that for Ridley Scott and his weird bunch. We all know what he gets up to.
Save that for HR fucking Giga.
You potsy German fellas. Oh, the fucking helicopter crash looked great. Because it all happens in long shot, and there's helicopters just flying in the sky. They just hit the floor and explode.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
It looked really great.
Yeah.
I really love it when Michael Caine switches gear from shouting to gentle.
There's 2 moments where he does it. The first of which is when he's dealing with... He's shouting at the general about his authority, and then a woman comes in.
But I have to speak to him, and I mean right now!
Thank God you got here, sir. I need antitoxins.
I have cardiopep compound in my van.
The second one is this thing with Paul.
And he's yelling at the general, just like, well, do it my way. Just give it a chance! And then Paul comes up and says, excuse me, Mr. Caine, I'd like a word, please. Yeah, go on, son. What's your problem there?
Yeah, you're right. Michael Caine really did bring it to this.
Did actually quite feel his pain when he's mourning for Henry Fonda.
Yeah, that whole scene I really enjoyed, and it really surprised me that Henry Fonda died at the end of that scene.
Yes.
The way he set it up, I thought it was going to be a triumphant, yes, and I did it, even after setting myself all those parameters. No, he just fucking died because he's an idiot.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
No, it'll either work under absolutely ideal circumstances or it's worthless. That scene was powerful enough that was the only time I didn't laugh when a giant bee just materialized in the fucking foreground.
Oh. The scene where the helicopter is pelted by 1 million bees before it loses control is perfect. It's the best.
It really
is. It's the best thing. Because it doesn't
fantastic.
really outline how the bees make the helicopter go down. It's covered in bees, and then it just fucking loses it and goes spinning into an explosion on a cliffside.
I really like it when the bees form like a layer on something. Often it's actually bodies. They become like little patches, and it's quite upsetting.
That looked great, actually. That really looked good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, Slim Pickens is in this.
Yes. Slim Pickens.
Slim Pickens himself. He plays a grieving father who comes to grieve for his son.
Yes.
Pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I thought the scene where he goes through with Sad Ed Harris and they check the body tags one by one.
Yes.
It was so painfully slow. It was really difficult to watch because you just knew, and it was just a matter of finding it. But he checked about 10 bodies before he finds it.
Should have alphabetized these.
Oh, you learn, don't you? But I really liked that at the end of that scene when he finally leaves the room with his son in his arms. There's a look that Ed Harris gives Michael Caine, which I know was meant to be a distraught one, but it looked like, what the fuck was with that guy?
What's that? Slim Pickens?
That's mental.
What the fuck was he doing here in this bee apocalypse? Paul drove like a fucking badass back into town. He was skidding and fucking drifting.
Actually, Paul himself was an interesting character.
Yes.
Not the... No, it was a strong performance. Strong isn't the right word. It was very strong. It was strong like tea where the bag had been left in for 15 minutes. It was all over the place.
Yes.
He didn't know what he was going to do next. Even Irvin Allen didn't know what he was going to do next. I doubt even Paul did.
Oh, slow motion children dying was great.
Yeah. Big fan of that.
Really haunting.
Number one death scene was the children. The bit when he's looking at the plastic, he's on his knees and he's going, there's plastic everywhere. There.
Yes.
Fucking nonsense is this.
He improvised that.
I love the idea that none of Kane's theories or plans are correct or work.
Not ever.
Just none of them.
Pure fluke at the end. The bees just wanted to be there. Unrelated to him playing that thing.
So when she's like, is this the end? He genuinely doesn't know. Fucking, he's thick as absolute fuck.
We're all going to dress as bees. And he's doing an elaborate dance in order to get them to make peace with the people. Bees and people living side by side. I can't do voices now. It's too much. Caine's knackered my throat. The train crash was genuinely good looking. Like when it explodes and like there's this weird. The explosion pushes some sort of liquid away from it. It was very memorable. It was very weird.
Okay.
But then you just have people like fumbling and pretending to be in a train that's turning over when they're clearly not. There's actually a technique called the Irvin Allen. I can't remember what it's called. Irwin Allen Mayhem or something, which is that he kind of pioneered the technique where you shake the camera and the people just act like.
Yeah. I used to do that with my dad on holiday. Yeah, I love the way that they sort of very slowly fall out of the train windows and in a kind of not so identical way. It was very Highlander 2 with the subway train and Michael Ironside playing the role of bees in that film. When Michael Caine and Henry Fonda meet for the first time in the film, he's sitting on in a helicopter still, and Michael Caine comes right up close to his face to have a conversation about 3 inches from it. And then when they're finished with that and it's time to go into the facility, it cuts to another shot a bit further out, and you don't see the wheelchair in the shot. So when Michael Caine just picks him up and goes to walk, it looks like a prearranged method between the two for carrying Henry Fonda around for the entirety of the film. It's one of his stipulations. It's his rider.
You don't want to walk. Okay. I want him to carry me. He was the Gene Hackman of this.
I want this little pussy to carry me.
Go crying back to Angelica Houston. Oh, no, the scene where General Ross, why worry about shaving when you're about to have your head cut off? Yeah, mulled over that one for a few minutes. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess it does.
Helen has been stung, and they're trying to get into this place to get away from the bees. Puts an elbow through the door window to open it. Two things.
Oh, yes.
Two things to that. That's not how you get away from bees, by breaking windows to places that you need to get into. And B,
yes.
B, it was so fucking clumsy that there's no way that he wouldn't have been bleeding horrifically from it.
Yes, he lingers his elbow in the pain for a while before he drags it out again.
Just get all root around in there.
Hold on, I've got to get all the glass out. You've already unlocked the door. Doesn't matter. I like the birdseed callback. The sunflower seed. It's what General Ross calls it, birdseed, but he offers him the sunflower seed.
This time he takes it, and they repeat their lines from earlier. It's a nice bonding moment.
That was one of those moments. It was the same as whenever anyone mentioned how Helena and Michael Caine were becoming close. I just threw my hands at the TV and went, when?
Yeah.
Why?
They walked around a town late at night and talked about how he killed his parents.
Oh. Yeah.
Michael Caine is Batman for the Dark Knight trilogy.
No. What are you doing? Oh, nothing. I know you've sampled all the bees, but Michael Caine really is the best person to be saying bees.
Yes. When I think of rubbish, bees, it is in a sort of rubbish kind of English accent of bees.
Bees.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Bees.
Oh, there's a bee.
Oh, bum. Yeah.
Oh, I found the flamethrowers quite pretty. That whole sequence where it's like a row of people armed with flamethrowers. It was very Fahrenheit 451.
Cool. I really like the setup for the lab.
Excellent.
Lots of foil. Looked like something from Silent Running, I thought. And there was just something about them all doing their business whilst the bees were just fucking swarming around them.
Michael Caine and General
Ross have agreed that they're going to run off and try and do this plan with the speakers. And they go to the door in this office. It's all quite quiet. And they open the door. And immediately it's just chaos on the other side of the door. There's bees everywhere. Yeah. And it's just like, that was a remarkably well soundproofed door.
And another thing, the escalation of the bees in the driving car of the train was everything.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, one bee to 1,000. He's got it on his hand, and he doesn't, because he's poisonous, he's scared of it, and then he just fucking loses it, and then in the next second, the whole car is full of bees. And it's
they were waiting just outside the window.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Shh.
Let's see what he does.
Don't say anything. This is going to be great.
We'll see what he does, and then we'll swarm. Oh my god, each bee was played by Michael Caine as well.
Fuck.
Uncredited cameo as the bees.
Can I just say something? Right. Fucking bees. I have been trying this entire episode to think of puns that had the word bee in them. And there's not one other than the word bee.
I wonder what they could all be.
What is this? What's the fucking point of even trying? I keep like when we say Michael Caine, I'm like Michael B. No, Michael Caine. No, B. Caine.
I guess throughout this entire episode, it's been a real bee in your bonnet.
Fuck this. Why do I even...
Whoops.
Bees.
I might have kicked the hornet's nest
Bees.
there.
You bees.
Oh, there's a fly in the ointment. No, it's a different... I will say that there is some legitimate production for this, and not just the stars, although it is a pretty glitzy production by 1970s standards. It's got a extraordinary budget for special effects sequences, many of which work really well. And it just looks like a really good movie for the most part, apart from some dodgy superimposition here and there. Mm-hmm. For the most part, it's got that sort of sheen of 1970s disaster movie quality.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is just a really funny and quite silly and very silly film that takes itself quite seriously.
And I highly recommend it.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. Well, how about the OG team?
Well, the OG team. Carl Bridges at Treviso 2002 said, Michael Caine's dialogue, which includes such gems as "the bees have always been our friends" and great expositional dialogue such as "No, it's on a completely different sonic level," which is more Richard Ayoade at that stage. I'm sorry.
It is getting Ayoade-esque.
It's on a completely different sonic level.
That's really good.
Thanks.
Stick with Ayoade.
I can do Ayoade.
Right. Oh, don't worry.
Launching the pilot said, great dialogue, and then just left a gif of a swarm of bees taking down a helicopter. So,
all you need.
Great dialogue. Beyond the Box Set said, to paraphrase Caine's celebrated quote on Jaws 4, "We've never seen the swarm. By all accounts, it is terrible. However, we've seen Caine's perm in that screenshot, and it is terrific."
He really does have fantastic hair in this. It really accentuates the craziness of his face. It's like a gorgeous frame around the Scream by Munich. No, Edward Munch.
Whatever. I'd call it a real power play, that hairstyle.
You fucking argue with it.
Whenever the bee discussion gets a little too abstruse, he just points at the hair and silences a room.
Who are you anyway? I'm the man who has this haircut.
Oh. Screen Mayhem said, the house that Michael Caine bought with his salary.
Definitely.
Yes, very nice. Matthew Gray at Clockwork Writer, shit film guy extraordinaire. There is something mildly disturbing about the slowly collapsing children being overcome by the titular swarm, and then the lingering shot of one kid covered in the nonchalant fuckers, and all they wanted was a lick of his damn lollipop.
Oh, sinister bastards, it's all they ever wanted.
Yeah, so a little bit of sweet.
What is their incentive in just stinging everyone? I guess they are often threatened.
They're bees.
Yeah, that's true. They're pricks. Bees are pricks. Kill them all. Yeah. Seriously, though, we really need more bees. Don't kill bees.
Yep.
They're in danger. Just
stop building patios, everyone.
Who'd have thought that the way in which the bees would really kill us is by sort of just going extinct? That's how they fucked us up after all.
That's a way sadder and scarier film, to be fair.
It's
like just fat grey Englishmen sitting on their patios. Oh, I've got remorse. Thanks, OG team.
In conclusion. Thanks, guys. All right, Paul. Let's talk about the one better thing.
The one better thing.
My one better thing is quite straightforward. It's just the two disaster movies that Irvin Allen produced but didn't direct in the 1970s. Okay. The Poseidon Adventure and The Towering Inferno. They're classics. Really, you need look no further when it comes to disaster movies. They're just brilliant. The Poseidon Adventure
is about a luxury cruise liner turned upside down due to a storm.
The survivors, who are currently trapped in the sort of ballroom near the top, near what was the top of the ship, now have to wake their way to the bottom of the ship. Gene Hackman's in it. He plays a priest who's lost his faith. And it's kind of like a journey of redemption for him as he sort of travels upwards in this inverse inferno, heading towards the sort of top of the ship. And it's very cavalier about fucking killing people, but it balances its characters really well. So it's better paced. Towering Inferno, same deal, set to buildings on fire.
Okay.
No Gene Hackman. Oh. But you have got... what's his name?
Paul Giamatti.
Is it? Yeah, Paul Giamatti and Jimmy Stewart. And they want equal square time. I don't know, words, whatever. Fucking hell, who are the two leads of The Towering Inferno? Steve McQueen and Robert Redford?
Sure, Paul Giamatti and Jimmy Stewart. Pretty sure it's those two.
I'm pretty sure it's those two. A patented OGT correction here, if need be.
Hello, OG team. Of course, the stars of The Towering Inferno were Paul Newman and Steve McQueen. I'd like to think that I mixed up Paul Newman and Robert Redford because of their hit movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but the truth is, I'm just not that bright. Also, in a few moments, I'm going to say that both of the men I fought were in The Towering Inferno were dead, whereas of course, in fact, Robert Redford is alive and well and appearing in J.C. Chandor films every now and then. Anyway, That's enough out of me. Let's get back to those lovable pools and find out what they're wrong about next.
Anyway, they're in it. Big egos. They insisted on sharing the exact same number of lines as each other because they were very insecure about each other. And,
God.
Look at them. Both dead now. So who's laughing now?
Me, apparently.
Michael Caine, it seems.
As far as I'm concerned, the best disaster movie that I've been able to think of in the last couple of hours is Independence Day. So, until I think of something more recent, let's just say this. It has the campy fun, but I don't remember any of the humour being unintentional. The threat felt real and not amusing. The side stories all played into the grand scheme of things, and they managed a rather rousing ending, I thought. Watch that if you haven't already for some reason.
If you're wanting to see a disaster movie in the cinemas, I am quite excited to see that there is one coming up called Skyscraper. It's got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it, and it's a basic
remake of The Towering Inferno, but also Die Hard because there are terrorists. It might be good.
Probably just sort of middling, like Rampage was.
Might not be.
So, it'll be fun.
If Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's career is anything to go by.
The shame.
No.
Except Jumanji. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the one better thing.
Fast 5.
And Fast 5. One better thing, Fast 5.
The one better thing.
Thank you so much for listening to One Good Thing About the Swarm.
Thank you. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at OGT Pod. Listen to us on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Podbean, the local fish market. Speaker's Corner, Paul. I think you're going to be doing an appearance there about the betrayal of Michael Caine very soon.
An inflammatory piece about what Michael Caine used to mean to all of us. God damn it.
About old man Michael Caine.
About delicate old man who's entitled to his views, Michael Caine, who I will be fucking tearing apart.
Maybe even literally if the rights come through. Fingers crossed, Metropolitan Police.
I hope he RSVPs.
So yeah, check that out. Check us out, and
check that atrocity out.
And if you want to check out any other atrocities, you can also check out episodes 71 to 74 of One Good Thing, which all seem to be about disaster movies for some fucking reason. Just another quick shout out for the Baby Bearders who are crowdfunding the horror film The Groves to be filmed in Adelaide. We've both put in money now. We don't earn any money from anything, so kudos to us. When's it time for your kudos, listeners? Go on. Anyway, links in the description. If you could put anything to it, that would be awesome. Keep supporting indie artists, writers, authors.
Okay, I'm Paul Salt.
I'm Paul Goodman.
And remember...
Bees.
Remember, the one good thing about The Swarm, 1978, directed by Owen Allen, is Michael Caine, with his facts about bees, he is willing to scream at you for a haircut. It's unbelievable.
Oh.
See, you fucking idiot. How hard is that?
Fuck you.